Find the idea. RA7 plus works only if one defender is overloaded. What would you play? Now rewind. Mikhail Tal has white against Tal-Botvinnik in World Championship 24th. The point is not to memorize moves. In this episode, track the quiet mystery. The natural answer, the piece with too many jobs, and the square that proves the tactic was prepared. If a move does not change one of those things, we move quickly. If it does, we stop and turn it into a question you can use at the board. First quiet clue. This move earns its screen time by changing the open file before the forcing line appears. This is the first real clue. Now 4. DXC5 is the next pressure test after 2. D5. Second exchange, not just points. One guard leaves, and the bishop route around move 4 becomes easier to see. The previous checkpoint, 2. D5, changed the defender map before 4. DXC5. 4. DXC5 sets up the next question at 8. Nx5. Pause here. What square became harder to defend after 4? DXC5? Third trade with a price tag. If the defender recaptures or ignores it, ask where the king can still breathe. The board is already drifting from 8. Nx5 toward 9. Next 5. Fourth visible prize, hidden access. After 9. Next 5, the loose defender is easier to use. Look back one checkpoint. 8. Nx5 made the position fragile enough for 9. Next 5. Fifth defender count changes. A safe-looking position turns into a trap when the forced reply has no spare helper. That is why 14. QXG5 is not just notation. It is a new problem created by 9. Next 5. Sixth greed warning. The capture looks local, but it changes the pawn shield near the king. A quiet detail from 9. Next 5 is still hanging in the air when 14. QXG5 arrives. Seventh open door. Once that defender disappears, the piece route has fewer obstacles. 15. FXG5 sets up the next question at 23. B5. Eighth quiet clue. This move earns its screen time by changing the trade choice before the forcing line appears. 15. FXG5 is the clue that makes 23. B5 less random. The board is already drifting from 23. B5 toward 31. RB1 plus. Ninth forcing checkpoint. Counterplay pauses while we inspect the entry point. Which defender cannot cover both threats? The previous checkpoint, 23. B5. Changed the defender map before 31. RB1 plus. This is the bridge to 34. RB6 plus, where the defender has fewer choices. 10th tempo hit. A quiet defense would be nice, but this check makes the rook lift urgent. What does RB6 plus reveal about the king's real cover? That is why 34. NXB6 is not just notation. It is a new problem created by 34. RB6 plus. 11th trade with a price tag. If the defender recaptures or ignores it, ask which square is no longer free. Now 35. CXB6 plus is the next pressure test after 34. NXB6. Pause here, what line opened because 34. NXB6 forced the issue? 12th initiative in plain sight. The reveal detail matters because the shrinking route still needs an answer. 35. CXB6 plus sets up the next question at 35. KD7. A small improvement can be a big warning. If the opponent treats the rook entry as harmless, the next forcing move lands harder. A quiet detail from 35. CXB6 plus is still hanging in the air when 35. KD7 arrives. 14th timing question. If the defender spends this move on survival, which diagonal lost protection? This is the bridge to 37. 1 rupee where the defender has fewer choices. 15th quiet clue. This move earns its screen time by changing the back rank room before the forcing line appears. 36. NC5 plus is the clue that makes 37. 1 rupee less random. That is why 37. RA3 plus is not just notation. It is a new problem created by 37. 1 rupee. 16th forcing checkpoint. Counterplay pauses while we inspect the overload. Which piece has two jobs? The previous checkpoint, 37. 1 rupee, changed the defender map before 37, RA3+. Now 38. KC4 is the next pressure test after 37, RA3+. Pause here. Did 37, RA3+ change material, tempo, or access first? No fireworks yet, but the trap is getting organized around move 38. Watch the tempo race. Who has to answer first? 38. KC4 sets up the next question at 38, RC3+. 18th king safety audit. If the reply damages the pawn shield, the next tactic gets easier. Look back one checkpoint, 38. KC4 made the position fragile enough for 38, RC3+. The board is already drifting from 38, RC3+ toward 40, BXH2. 19th trade with a price tag. If the defender recaptures or ignores it, ask which square became a highway. This is the bridge to 41. RA7+, where the defender has fewer choices. 20th collapse warning. The check forces a reply while the trade choice stays weak. A quiet detail from 40. BXH2 is still hanging in the air when 41. RA7+ arrives. Pause here. What square became harder to defend after 41? RA7+? The threat is still partly hidden. That is why this move is dangerous. It improves the queen access before the tactic announces itself. That is the proof behind the finish. The lesson from the queen raid that would not stop is concrete. The final tactic works because the earlier moves changed the defender map. In the My Chess Coach lesson, replay the quiet mystery positions, solve the puzzles, and name the clue before the payoff. The candidate move, the overloaded piece, or the square that changed. Then run the same checklist in your own game before you grab material or defend automatically. That turns this finish into a pattern you can recognize in real positions, not just a highlight you admire once.